everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Rachel and my channel is Solonique. This is probably my second video that I'll upload with me being in front of the camera, and it's going to be a little bit different. But first of all, I wanted to just say hello to my subscribers and hello to anyone who's new to my channel and has just stumbled upon this video. Like, thank you so much for clicking on it, and I hope you do subscribe and you stick around for more content. So as I was saying, it's going to be a little bit different because I usually make art-based videos, but with the way that my channel is going now, I wanted to make it a little bit more personal so that my viewers can get to know me a little bit better, and it will also help me to just tell my stories of which I have many. So in this video I'm just going to be talking about my JW story, how I woke up and basically found out that I was part of a cult, and how I dealt with the transition of leaving my past life and joining the normal world, basically. So yeah, I hope you guys I hope you take away something from this, and I hope this will help people who are the same age as me, but also people who are just struggling with the realization that they are stuck in a cult and that there is a way out and that there is life after the dreaded org. So yeah. Okay, so waking up, there were a set of situations or things that were happening around about the same time. I would say that I truly woke up in 2019 because around about that same time I was in a high pressure job and I was very, very stressed, and I would say that I was a little bit depressed because I just wasn't myself at all. And I have always loved art, and art has always been my therapy, but I didn't even have energy to work on my art at that point. So I know that I was very, very low. Around about the same time I was also missing meetings, which was like a big thing. But then I had really lovely colleagues that I was working with, and I had really good relationships with them. So every time we'd be on like a break, or we'd go out for something to eat together, you know, they'd ask me about my life and I'd tell them about being a Jehovah's Witness because that was my life. And I remember one colleague in particular, love her dearly, she was literally like an older sister to me, but she was like, Rachel, you're not really living the life of a 23-year-old. I was 23 at that time. You're not really living the life of a 23-year-old. Yeah, I think you need to leave your religion. And that to me was like a drastic thought, because I knew the truth, and like that was just it, you know. It wasn't the truth at that time, it was just me. I thought something was wrong with me, I was broken. So that seemed like an incredibly like silly thing to do. And then again, I had a really caring director, and every time we'd have like a weekly meeting together where we'd do a catch up, he'd ask me how I was doing, and you know, I told him, and he was really shocked with just everything that came with being a Jehovah's Witness, and he also advised me that this doesn't sound normal, you need to leave. And then outside of that, I had family members who weren't Jehovah's Witnesses who were advising me to leave. So as you can see, all these people in my life who weren't necessarily linked and so could not influence the other, they were all telling me to leave. And I'm always a strong believer that if there are people telling you one thing and they're not even linked, that should make you think about whatever it is that they're telling you. So I started, you know, I was really so confused because I was down. I didn't know why I was down, because I thought I was trying to be a good Christian. I didn't understand how I could be facing all this. Didn't know why I was sad. And then I talked to an elder about it, and he told me that basically the depression I was feeling was probably due to being spiritually sick. So that's to say that I needed to work on my spirituality, which meant coming to meetings more and more and reading the word more and more. So I did try that. I eventually left that, my high pressure job, and I decided to just pioneer a little bit, and just to see whether I felt better in my mental state. And what I found was that during pioneering, I thought it would make me feel amazing. I felt somewhat better, but I still wasn't happy. So I was like, what is going on? This is not normal. Why am I not happy? For those of you who don't know what pioneering is, it's what you basically see Jehovah's Witnesses doing, but pioneering is like the next level, which means that you dedicate maybe like, how many hours? I think it's 30 or 70 hours depending on what type of pioneer you are. 30 or 70 hours out on the field ministry, they say, knocking on houses and trying to start or establish Bible studies. So that's what I was basically doing. And then I just thought to myself, this is not working. So I decided to book myself a flight to Zimbabwe and to volunteer out there and to work on my art. And I think that was the best decision for me to have made, because my eyes were opened in that trip, and it took me away from just being around Jehovah's Witnesses a lot. That was what I'd say was the start of my waking up, because I had established basically like a new life for myself. I was a new person in Zimbabwe. I wasn't like the old Rachel, and I wasn't around the people in my congregation, which was a major thing, because I used to be so fearful of what I was doing. I always used to think I was going to do something wrong, so sometimes I wouldn't even leave the house. So to just be in a different place, and to be around different people who weren't from the religion, allowed me to see a different perspective. And it was in Zimbabwe that I realized that I don't think this is the religion for me. I saw things from my congregation in England that were the same in my congregation in Zimbabwe, and I started to see it was like a society thing. The same cliques that I saw within my congregation back in England, I saw kind of in the congregations I visited in Zimbabwe. And so I didn't like it. I didn't fit in anywhere, and I was just like, this is not for me. So I remember so vividly, I was on my flight returning back to England, and I was watching this movie, and it was a faith-based movie. It was about a son who'd been out playing with his friends, and they were playing on a frozen lake, and where he'd been running along, I think, it cracked, and he got it opened up an area, and he basically drowned. And the mother found out, and she was obviously very, very distressed that her son was in such a state. It was a frozen lake. He had hypothermia, all the signs of like brain damage because of how long he'd been underwater, etc. But the thing that struck me about that movie was the fact that it wasn't a Jehovah's Witness movie, but it was outside people who had faith. And how can I explain this?
What are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say that from that movie, it showed me that it's not just Jehovah's Witnesses who can have faith. That normal people can have faith too in their own way, and that means that that can't just be the one and only truth.
Yeah, and like made you realize that there's a whole world out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you start questioning the like
doctrine.
Yeah. And then what else is like out there as well.
So yeah, after realizing that there was other people who had faith and other people who had like a different worldview, and it wasn't just Jehovah's Witnesses who had all the truth, all the knowledge, I then wanted to leave and start my own journey to like a spiritual awakening. So that set me off on just cutting myself off entirely from Jehovah's Witnesses, and it was good because I'd been away for so long that people got used to not seeing me. So when I returned, I didn't tell anyone that I was back, and I just continued my life, and it was refreshing. I'd never really enjoyed where I lived, just simply because of the fact that I didn't feel free to do what I wanted to do, so I felt very confined. So when they didn't know that I was back, I then started to try out different things, and I started meeting up with my wonderful best friend, the one I was talking to off camera, and you know, that was very early on in my waking up. And we started discussing things on like a regular basis. I tell her about the things I faced within JW, and she'd tell me, you know, that's not normal. I didn't even realize how restrictive it was. You know, I tell her about in particular the thing that what really scared me was dressing in a certain way. That was a big thing, because anyone who's come from a JW background knows that they're very strict with their dress code, because you mustn't look like the world. How do they used to describe it? They used to say that you are in the world, but you are not a part of the world. You need to make yourself distinct from the world. That means that, in particular, men, they weren't allowed to have beards. Women couldn't wear skirts that were above the knee, basically, because it's too tempting. Like things like this I could not wear because obviously it's showing too much. Anything that's figure hugging, everything like this. So I'd sometimes wear outfits. I remember it was in the summer when we were meeting up and we were going for walks, and I wore this short skirt, and I was like to my best friend, I was literally like, oh my gosh, I feel so shy to be in this. What about if someone sees me? And she literally said to me, you are not part of that world anymore. You don't need to worry. Be yourself.
It wasn't even that you were shy, it was that you genuinely had such bad anxiety. Like you were walking down the street and it's a quiet town, so there's hardly anyone around. You were like, you had really bad anxiety about what you were wearing, and what you were wearing was still not revealing. It was just like a long sleeve bodysuit and jeans. And like your skirts were like not short in any way. And I'm wearing like cycling shorts and a crop top. So it's it would give you like anxiety as well, just too shy. And if we saw other people, other JWs in like the supermarket or whatever, then you would get like super bad anxiety.
I would,
and hate it. And it's really sad, so I'm really proud of you now for being on camera in a little crop top, and it's literally like fun and young.
Yes, that's another thing. Like from living my life and leaving JW, I feel so much younger. I actually feel my age. Being in the religion was so restrictive to the point of you can't try anything new, and they always want to keep you so innocent to everything and so naive, because if you have that freedom of thought, you'll go out there and you will find research that will turn you against the organization. And this is another thing that I really hated, was the fact that the information that they provide within the society, so they've got books and publications that you must read, you can't reference to another source, because everything other than JW is apostate. Even a quick Google search, you're not able to do that, because why? Everything is contained within the society, which I know for a fact is not true, and I think many ex-JWs know that, and I think many JWs who are probably PMO, physically in, mentally out, probably know that, because you can't know everything, you know, and JW can't teach everything. It's simply impossible. They have one worldview, and that worldview isn't enough to encapsulate this wonderful world that we live in. It's not possible. So yeah, you weren't allowed to look for outside sources. And then another thing that I really didn't like was in regards to healthcare. If you ever needed a major surgery that would require a blood transfusion, you were not allowed to have a blood transfusion, even if it was going to save your life. And I know there's accounts of people who refused blood transfusions and died, because you're taught as a Jehovah's Witness that blood is life, the sanctity of blood is life. So they teach you that Jehovah does not want you to take the blood of another living person, because he is the life giver. So it's not for you to give yourself more life, if that makes any sense. So blood transfusion was completely off the cards. And also, funnily enough, the society gave us cards. I don't have it because I threw mine out a long time ago, but they would give us blood transfusion cards, which basically stated that you were a Jehovah's Witness and that you did not believe in the transfusion of blood. So if you were not conscious to make this decision for yourself, this card would be in your wallet, and whoever would read it would then obviously put it on your notes. And it's just really sad, because, you know, even young people above the age of 12 would be adamant that they didn't want a blood transfusion. And I just think things like that, what does a child know? It's just very, very sad. That was another thing that I really didn't like, and that many people, well, actually some people knew, but most people didn't, and that you weren't allowed blood transfusions. Other things we weren't allowed to do, we weren't allowed to celebrate birthdays, because birthdays were seen as like a selfish day, and Jehovah's Witnesses believe in giving. It's all about giving to others, and so if you have a day like your birthday, that's all about you. So it's a very selfish day apparently, which it's not. It's just celebrating that, you know, you've reached another hurdle in your life, you know. So that, and then we also can celebrate Christmas, gosh, Easter, everything like that. So when I eventually left, I actually had my first birthday last year in 2020, and it was the best day. We were in lockdown, but we managed to have a picnic outside.
It was when like the rules were confusing. Like, you could
Very
meet up with people outside.
Yes.
And yeah,
you could meet up outside.
It was busy, but like the parks were not busy. But yeah. It was when Black Lives Matter was happening. Yes,
because it happened on the 2nd of June. That's my birthday. So it was exactly that day, which was very interesting. So there was a lot of things happening at that time. So that was my first birthday, and then just recently in December, that was also my first Christmas, and it was the best time. Like, honestly, I've never experienced a Christmas before, so that was beautiful. And I don't understand why Jehovah's Witnesses can't celebrate Christmas, because it's actually a very nice occasion. You know, although you like give presents and everything, it's about just the love that's shown that day, you know. It has a sense of like togetherness about it. So one challenge I faced is the fact that coming from a family that are still Jehovah's Witnesses, their eyes aren't opened yet. They are still very much in the view that Jehovah's Witnesses know the truth, that is the truth. So me coming out of the religion has been like a massive shocker. Just as a side note, I'm the youngest in my family, so, and I come from an African family, so that in itself is like a big thing, because as the youngest, you just known to just follow what your, in a way, your parents want you to do. You don't really step out of line. But for me to make this decision was a lot. And I remember talking to one significant family member. I won't say names or anything because yeah, they might watch this. I'd taken them to a restaurant to have something to eat, and because I wanted to tell them that I wanted to leave the religion. And during the meal I brought up the subject, and I kind of just said to them, I don't think this is the truth, and I don't feel this is the right path for me, and I don't want to continue in something that I don't believe in. If I was to leave the religion, how would you feel about it? But I'm still going to remain the same. I'm still the same Rachel. It's just that I won't be a Jehovah's Witness. And they said to me, that's a lot to take in, and you know my viewpoint on the religion, that is the truth, and I don't know what journey you're going on, but I don't understand it. And then somehow we got to the subject of like achievements, and I said to them, well, at least, you know, I've got some things you can be proud of me, even if I'm not a regular pioneer. So I basically said to this particular family member that at least you have some things to be proud of me for. I mean, I've got an award for my art. I've managed to sell it to buyers in foreign countries. I know I'm not a pioneer or anything like that. At least you can say that, oh, she's done this and has been able to do this outside of the religion. But this particular family member said that those achievements were small in comparison to the achievement of being a Jehovah's Witness and attaining life forever in paradise. And that was a hard pill to swallow. Yeah, that was really hard. But what I've realized from being a Jehovah's Witness was I built up a certain resilience, because you are always faced with judgment. You are always faced with sometimes being singled out, being an anomaly. You're not ever allowed to be yourself, because this is a high control group. You are not able to fully form a personality of your own, because it just doesn't go in line with what's being taught. You have to be a Borg. I always liken it to being in the Matrix, because you are plugged in to what the society tells you. You are fed information that dictates how you view the world, which is usually very negative. It's such a negative viewpoint. I mean, when I moved to London, I got like a few messages from JWs, and the tone of the message, I know where it was going, because there's a certain way that Jehovah's Witnesses talk to you, especially if you have come from being a Jehovah's Witness. They will say things such as, I hope you're happy with your life now, which is usually dripping in, like, it's saturated with, you have to read between the lines kind of thing. So when they say to you, we hope life is going the way you wanted it, it's basically like, you've forgotten Jehovah. How's your life doing now? You know, because you're always taught that your life is going to go to rubbish. It's going to be terrible. Which is not true. I'm loving life now. I'm free. But yeah, and I was so happy. This is the thing. When I woke up, when I finally told myself that I am physically and mentally out of this religion, it was liberating. I woke up the next day and I was like, Rachel, you are free. Like, how do you explain freedom? What I went through was mental captivity. That is what I called it. Whenever I refer to being a Jehovah's Witness, I refer to it as a mental captivity, because living, breathing, everything like that as a Jehovah's Witness was not fun for me. I didn't have any fun. There were odd times when it was like a nice occasion or whatever, but I didn't have friends. Not really anyway. Not people that whenever something happened I could just call, because everything had to be like by appointment. 2, there was a sense of judgment every time you did something that wasn't right. 3, the society dictated your life. So what kind of life is that? That's not life. I don't believe that is a life at all, and I don't know how people put up with that at all. But they may not have gone through the crisis of conscience that I did. What I went through was a crisis of conscience, and there's even an ex-governing body member who wrote a book on it, because he being like, because obviously there's rankings within Jehovah's Witnesses, the community. Then you've got the elders who are like a lower level who look after the congregation. Then you've got the circuit overseer, and then there's, I think, other smaller levels, whatever. And then you've got the governing body. They are the big 7, I think there's 7 men, all older of course, and they run the show. So he used to be an ex-governing body member, and he wrote a book. But I haven't read the book, but I've read the premise around it, and I want to read it because I want to see his point of view on the subject. But yeah, I'm grateful for the journey that I've been on, and I'm grateful for the people that I've met. I'm so grateful for my support network. I'm grateful to my friends. My gosh, honestly, when you are going through this journey, you need to make sure that you have friends, close friends, who are, one, going to show you that their love for you is unconditional, not conditional love that you've been shown within the congregation, because you've probably noticed that aspect. 2, you need friends who will allow you to experience things outside in the world that you may not have experienced, and will just show you what you can enjoy, because that's what my friends did for me. And honestly guys, it's quite bittersweet looking back, but the person I've become and the person who I've always wanted to be is this person right here, and that's amazing to me. And that's just from shedding old skin, which was the religion, and my old doctrines that I was indoctrinated into, and also my one world view, and from being able to absorb people's experiences, meeting new people without judgment, and it's been amazing. Like, I'm so happy to not be a Jehovah's Witness anymore, and to finally be free, to be able to share my art, to put myself on the camera right here as I'm doing in front of you guys, and to tell the world that this is my truth. That is powerful. That is just, I'm so happy that I can do that now, because before I was a nervous, anxious wreck who would be scared to talk about things like this, because the society's always watching, and I will be, and I am, deemed an apostate now, because I have talked against the society. I've talked against the truth. That's not the truth. But yeah, if anyone is watching this and has been through this, is going through this, it gets better. Trust me. This is just a period in your life that will eventually go, and you will come out so much better. What we've effectively gone through is brainwashing, and you have to, you can't necessarily erase, but you have to relearn certain things and certain behaviors. because it just wasn't healthy. And yeah, I really hope this video does reach the intended audience and that you can take away something from this, and I hope I explain things well enough for you guys, and I hope that whoever's going through this or is going to go through this will allow themselves to heal and to know that it is just a period in your life and you can overcome anything once you put your mind to it with the right framework around yourself. Please, please, please do have people that you can relate to who are not in the organization. Build up a support system outside of the congregation so that when you come out and you transition into the real world, it's not going to be this big scary place. Surround yourself with love. That's all I say, really. And if anyone wants to reach out to me, please do. I'm so open. I've been there. I know how it feels, and I would really hate someone else to feel like that. I mean, when I was waking up, it was videos like this that really helped me to see that there's a whole world outside of JW, and that I'm not alone, and that my life can get better, and that people are kind, and that there's so much good in the world. Aside from the bad things that happen, inevitably they will happen, but there's good as well. Instead of the dreaded message that we're always taught that in this system of things, things will never be good because we're waiting for Armageddon and paradise. But who's got time to wait for that? And that's not an assured thing. That's just a thing that a load of guys gathered from the Bible and decided was the message, the end, you know. Ugh, it's just, no, that's not for me. It's not for me at all. That doctrine has passed. If there are any Jehovah's Witnesses who used to know me in that former life of mine, I hope that you don't reach out and try and feel sympathy for me. I don't need the sympathy. But if you want to reach out and rejoice for me, that would be lovely. But yeah, I'm grateful that you stayed and stuck around to hear my story, and I just hope to build up a lovely network with other fellow ex-JW survivors. And yeah, I'm grateful that I'm no longer a JW. It's wonderful. And yeah, thank you for listening to my story, and I hope you will stick around on my channel to see the other content I have in store for you guys. And I look forward to growing as a person continuously on this journey, and I hope you guys will grow with me. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.